go home.
Go ahead.
It is now or never, ladies and gentlemen, okay? This is one of the most important elections of our history. We are seeing the Democrats, the communists, de Blasio, destroy our city, and we're seeing them try to make it impossible for Republicans to win. The Democrats don't want to debate us. They don't have common sense on their side. They don't have logic on their side. They hide behind the brainwashing of the mainstream media, and they want to rely on that as a victory. As we have, last meeting we had Debbie over here talk about how when she reaches a certain threshold for matching funds, it triggers a televised debate. I qualified for matching funds, and the corrupt system that we had contested numerous donations, so that's preventing my opponent from debating me, because they know that I'll destroy him in a debate, just like I destroyed my opponent last year for state assembly in the small debate that we had. Okay, they're taking advantage of the brainwashing, the nonsense, the lies about racism and everything into people's minds, but they're also taking advantage of the fact that a lot of Republicans think we have absolutely no chance to win. Manaka mentioned that in 2013, de Blasio won with a 13% turnout. He won re-election with approximately a 15% turnout. Imagine if we have over half the Republicans actually come out to vote, and we have around a small percentage of Democrats that think it's in the bag, and some of those Democrats are sick and tired of the crime rates increasing, the homeless rates increasing, the small businesses being destroyed. It is not impossible for Republicans to win. Brooklyn Borough President, I know the last time they took office was 2014 and left office in 2018, so we were both kind of right on that, Glenn.
19.
No, 18.
No, 1914.
1914 was when they took office, 1918 is when they left office. Yeah. So last time we had a Brooklyn Borough President was over 100 years ago, but that's not impossible. Okay, and the way we do that is not by coming here and just talking to each other and complaining about problems. Glenn sent out a bunch of text messages to people to get them to go here, come here. That's why we have people that, including myself, that showed up here. You go out there, you send text messages, you make phone calls, you tell people, we got this guy Menachem running for Brooklyn Borough President. I heard what he had to say about certain things. We need to go out there, we need to knock on doors. You need to recruit other people to go out there and fight and try to make this a victory. Talking to each other and complaining about how we have a communist mayor is not going to solve the problem. We need to go out there, we need to not just preach to the choir, we need to explain to the Democrats, have you had enough? Aren't you sick and tired of the lockdowns? Aren't you sick and tired of small businesses going out of business? Aren't you sick and tired of seeing more and more homeless people in your neighborhood? Aren't you sick and tired of not feeling safe in your city anymore? Remember when it was safe? When we had Republicans running the show. Let's bring it back to that era where we have it's time for the Republicans to step back in and save our city. Our city was being destroyed before Giuliani came into play and became the mayor and saved our city. It is time for Republicans to save New York once again, and we don't do that relying on talking to each other. We make the phone calls, we knock on the doors, and we make the donations. Believe it or not, it is a necessary evil. We don't get those matching funds without donations. We don't pay for marketing material like this without donations. You know, I have people in Georgia, in Texas, in Florida that donated to my campaign. Small amounts, 20 bucks. I don't have a large number, but why did they donate? Because New York is the financial capital of the world, and they see that I'm somebody that has ideas to save New York City. Even if we just elect local candidates and we don't win the mayoral race, we have people who are putting the ideas out there, spreading their voice. And I've been talking about life skills classes in school since last year when I ran for assembly. Menachem has some different perspective on it. I just believe that they should have basics of life skills. They learn how checking accounts work, how credit works, basics of splicing wires together. Maybe that intrigues them to pursue a trade school. They don't have to be experts in one field in high school, but they can learn the basics of designing a website. Maybe that's the career path that they want to go on instead of six-figure loans. I talked about municipal bonds to fund affordable housing, property back, instead of giving developers 15-year tax abatements. I explained how all this stuff works. That could also be used for the theater, the Shore Theater in Coney Island to revitalize it. Property-backed municipal bonds, private investors getting interest, and you know, getting interest on their investment, tax-free interest, and we use that to revitalize not only for affordable housing, but for other projects throughout the city. We rebuilt, when the Chicago fire burned down Chicago, it was private money that built it back up. We could do that here in New York. We could do that by rewarding people with tax-free municipal bonds instead of just the answer to all the Democrats' problems is take money out of other people's pockets. All that does is make more and more people leave New York City. We're not going to have anything left by the end of this year if we keep voting Democrat. I spent a lot of time designing my own website. You know, I don't have big donors where I could, you know, I do all my graphic design, manage my own social media, do my own website design. I spend a lot of time going into detail on how to implement all these ideas. Mark 4ny.com. Go on it, take a look at the ideas. You know, there's different ideas that I've heard other candidates mention after I've mentioned them. I noticed Curtis Lewa in his debate, I brought up the lease to own for NYCHA residents so they have property. I heard him mention that. I heard Elizabeth Warren finally talking about overdraft fees. Last year I brought that into attention. I wanted to change that in New York State because the bankers are taking advantage of people by charging multiple overdraft fees. I can't do that in city council, but I bring the ideas out there because whether I do it, whether I win election, another Republican does it, another Democrat does it, the point is it gets done and it helps the community. Do I trust a Democrat's going to do it? Probably not. That's why I ran for office in the first place, because I don't trust other politicians to do the right thing. I trust myself to do the right thing. And I'm going to fight like hell despite all the obstacles that the Democrats put in front of me. I'm going to fight like hell to be in office so I can have a voice for the people. And that's about it, ladies and gentlemen. I thank you all for being here. You know, we can't outspend them, we can't out-cheat them, but we can outwork them and we can outsmart them, and that's how we come to victory, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Say your full name so we have it on the
What
camera.
district are you
Mark
running in?
Szuszkiewicz, that's SZUSZKIEWICZ. It is the name with all the Z's in it, but I won't sleep on the job like other politicians do.
Where are you running? What
What's
district?
Coney Island,
Oh, that's my
Bensonhurst.
Did you run against, you almost won last year, right?
Yes.
Then they
State
stole
Assembly.
it from you.
They stole it from me,
Okay,
that's
that's
correct. I do have donation forms on me, or you could donate online,
donate.
I live in your district if you want help. I live in West
Perfect.
Fifth.
We'll talk definitely.
Your
100%.
card,
Coney Island.
What's the number of the district?
47.
47,
Who's in it
city
now?
council.
Well, Mark Traeger is the incumbent, but he's term limited out. So Ari Kagan
Campbell.
is
He's
the,
dead.
you know.
Oh, I heard you talk about Ari.
He's an idiot.
I don't like to sling mud on that's not my style. But you know, I do hear a lot of other people say negative things about my opponent. I'll leave that to other people to do it, not me.
I want to